everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Extropian's Built Different podcast. My name is Raul from Agora Media, and I'm here with Ricky Alphonse, CEO and founder of Extropian. Ricky, could you say hi to the audience at home?
What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing this evening? Glad that everybody can kind of be with us. And as always, Raul, I thank you for your time and helping us out and being a part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for having me. And I'm only sort of one of the many of this team that's sort of been building up over these past couple of years in terms of Extropian growing into this movement and into this sort of product, into this company. But before we talk about all that, part of today's episode is I wanted to ask Ricky a little bit about the dream behind the movement. And what I mean by that is sort of all the dreams and all the efforts and all the thoughts that came before the company started and that inspired this company to keep going. So, Ricky, my first question to you is I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about your dream or your sort of idea for this company originally.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to this company, it kind of goes back to my childhood. It's like everybody that kind of has an idea that it seems like they always it comes out of something that was an issue in their life or a pain point, or maybe it's something that they saw, they identified with their family that they wanted to fix something, or a problem that they see in the world and they wanted to fix it. Me, I've kind of always, even as a kid, was a dreamer. Like I used to always visualize, going out with this specific girl from the school. I always used to visualize, like, man, when I get a car, like I would want this kind of car, or I would want this kind of life, or I was always a very visual. Always like to visualize and like to dream, and that was always loved when I was going to bed, and like I'd start to like lay in bed and dream of things, and that's kind of how I've always been. On top of that, I was always into tech, so I was always into like the latest phones that would come out. I was one of the first people with one of the the notes when they first started coming out. I was on top of just the latest trends, so I'm like really a big early adopter. But that's because I love people's vision. I love seeing people's visions turn into a product. I love seeing people's visions. People dream and build something. I'm big into looking at sketches of buildings and even like theme parks, like when they have the blueprint and there's the vision of what they want to build, and it actually starts rising, and the rebars getting put in place and the concrete's being poured. I love like just following that journey of anything that starts in somebody's mind and is built. So with that being said, I always had a vision of wanting to do something big in my life. I think what happened was I started going to school, and unfortunate thing is, as a child, you dream, you dream, you dream, and then you always hear kids talking about, I want to be a astronaut, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a doctor. But then they start going through life and school and parents, family, friends. You start putting these doubts in a kid's mind, and they begin to start to like think about reality and stop they stop dreaming, and yeah, that's something that happens to all of us. But for me, like I still kind of continue to dream, but I kind of went down that path of school and like getting into the rat race of finding a job and college and getting into an industry and moving up the corporate ladder essentially. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to do something bigger or be something bigger. And so I've had a lot of crazy ideas. Like anytime I see something, I'm like, man, I think I can improve that. Like I can find a better way to do it. What if you did a more innovative product that would help people? And that's what I wanted to do. You know what I mean?
So
That's what my
you're an
interest was.
inventor. You have more than one idea, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I have several ideas, man. I literally have like a list of ideas. Some of them being absolutely crazy, and some being like realistic. But this was my passion. This is my passion project out of that list of projects. But yeah, so I just I started like seeing a lot of videos of people that started businesses, at that time I started attending sports business management class, DeVos sports business management class, and one of our classes was entrepreneurship, entertainment, and I forget the name of the class exactly, but it was something along those lines. But we started learning about entrepreneurs, and you start to see like it's not that hard to start a business. For me, it was like it's my journey is a little bit different because I'm not a technologist by trade or first and foremost. So that vision had to be delivered to somebody else. But um, yeah, I never really stopped dreaming of this idea, and I think me not being a technologist put me in a really cool place where um, I'm not putting a box around what we can do and what we can accomplish. Because when you know how to build the technology, you kind of know the limitations. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
For myself, I don't know what those limits are. So when I start thinking of this product and what it can do and where we're going with it, and what this company stands for, I never put it in a box or put any kind of limit on it because I don't know what the limits are. And I think that's what's made allowed us to create such an innovative company and such an innovative product. And it's like, something that makes me proud. Like, I'm kind of glad in a sense. At that time, it sucked, but in a sense, I'm glad I don't have a technological background because I would be like, no, this isn't possible. No, I can't do that. And that's not what we're about. That's not what I'm about. That's not what this company's about.
Yeah, no,
So,
absolutely, Ricky, absolutely. And this Extropian device, we can't say a whole lot about it yet, but this piece of technology, this device, there is a story behind it, right? It was a slow buildup of ideas coming to life slowly, like you said, from these entrepreneurship classes, these management classes, leading to maybe some events, right? If I remember correctly.
yeah, so what ended up happening is in my classes, I had the idea. I went to my professors, and I was always the quiet kid in class. What I mean, I was never the one raising my hand, and that program was very much focused on like, everybody kind of putting their bid in and raising their hand and giving their input. But I was just the quiet guy sat in the back. Had my hat on like I do now. Had braids back then, so it was a little different, but. Um, I went to my professors one day, and I respect them a lot. Really, amazing guys, crazy network. They know the who's who of pretty much every industry. But I went to them. I never really talked to them that much back then. I talked to them a little bit more now, but I went to them and presented the idea I had to them, and they were like, "Man, Ricky, we really like what you have," and they're like, "You should pursue this." So it's funny. One of my last days of class, you know what I mean. I'm the dude that really never talks or never says much in class, but they were presenting awards, and they presented me with the Edison Award, like inventor award. And so they handed me it was like a light bulb at that time, and I was like, everybody in class was like, "What? Who? Ricky?"
Who?
Like, because I mean, I wasn't like a talkative kid in class. I just kind of sat in the back when I could and just really stayed low key. But everybody's like, "What, Ricky?" And so everybody's like, what invention does he have or whatever?" So that was pretty funny. But I still keep that light bulb on my desk till this day. But it pushed me to then start a company and like to have a structure of a company at that point, and to actually push me to actually try this out. And what ended up happening was I ended up starting a company. I ended up going a whole bunch of different routes trying to figure out how to find talent to do it. Or, not being a technologist, you don't know where to start. And at that time, the idea was a little different, but, it was weird because I had this lucid dream one night where, those dreams you're half awake and you're half asleep, but you're kind of, those dreams where you kind of can still make decisions. You can still kind of change the outcome of the dream a little bit. I had one of those dreams, and in that dream, I was like kind of it was a different version of the technology than what I had already been thinking. So automatically, I'm like, oh, why don't I look this up? Like, has anybody done this before? Is it even possible to do this? This is like, am I being like a complete nutcase here? You know what I mean? Saying that I want to do this, and what ended up happening is I ended up finding a professor. he was the only one kind of working on it at the time. He was the forefather, I guess, of this similar type of electronics. So he was doing something kind of similar to what we're doing, but it was the only like closest thing I could find to it. But I looked him up, and I'm like thinking at that time, like, damn, how can I work with this guy? I'm just some little, I'm a startup. Like I'm not even a startup at this point. I just formed an LLC, and I'm like trying to, wade through the waters and figure out what I need to do.
Yeah,
And how can I ever work with someone like
you
this?
were
Hmm?
you at this point you were just a dream at this point.
Yeah, it was a dream. It was a vision. Like not even sure if it was possible. It wasn't even on a napkin. So, so I went through all of these crazy routes, man, trying to get this thing off the ground and trying to meet people, and you meet some people that are helpful, and you take a little bit of information from everybody you meet, but some people were like not as kind. Some people were more like, yeah, you should pursue this. Some people try to take advantage, of my inexperience and my naive nature at that time. But what ended up happening is I ended up um, getting into an accelerator program, shout out to start a studio, and that's where I kind of put the foundation in place. It's like lean business principle models, and I put that into practice. I figured out how to network. I figured out how to to actually start a business. And so, the funny thing is when I was in that, I I was still stuck in my 9 to 5 because I had a 9 to 5 before that. And what ended up happening, kind of going backwards, I got let go of that job. Like we all got laid off, and at that time when I got laid off as well, I was already kind of in the like kind of getting into the entrepreneurial spirit, but I was really um trying to get my bearings, but I still was working my 9 to 5, so I was still kind of in between those two worlds. You know what I mean? And we got laid off, and it was like, it was sad for a lot of people, but for me, it was a blessing in disguise because then it forced me to work on this. Prior to that, I was, I don't know, it's just weird. It's like a weird, like wool being pulled off my eyes because my vision was always at that time was always moving up the corporate ladder and moving in, being in that company and staying there for like years and just going climbing the ladder and getting to the top and going to the big office and all that stuff. But what changed my mind around was seeing some of the higher ups, the C-level people in the corporation, and like how they were living, what they were doing. And at that time, I was just kind of like, damn, I'm helping these people build wings on their houses and helping them build their dream. Why not build my own dream? And why not, get people on board that believe in this dream and let's build something really cool together. I was like, that's really cool. You know what I mean? That's what it's about. And after that I got laid off and then, going back to the future to the after that point, joining the accelerator program and getting the lean business principle model. So my mind started evolving. The vision was still kind of murky, but how to start a business started like permeating in my mind. I started figuring that part out. But the funny thing that happened after that is, fast forward in a couple years, got in contact with Georgia Tech, and I was just like, I went out there and I pitched to them. So it was like a room of 400 engineers, that were graduating, and I was still feeling like, this imposter syndrome. I went in there. It was like this company, Bechtel, that I believe built the Hoover Dam, builds like airports, an architecture company, Porsche, Mercedes, and all of them are in there presenting projects to these students with little old me with this horrible looking PowerPoint. These guys have all these professional PowerPoints with Porsche all over it and this stuff all over it, and I'm just here like, eh. So I go in there, and one of the things that resonated with me and in this journey and going back to dreaming is when I was before I reached Georgia Tech, I was actually engaging with an engineer that somebody mutual put me in touch with, and he was essentially, I presented the idea to him, and the guy was a complete asshole. I'm not gonna lie. He pretty much saw what I had, and he was just being a complete douche. You know what I mean? Like he really was, kind of like, like not trying to limit my dream, trying to limit my vision, and telling me it's not possible. And oh, you're trying. What he told me is that you're trying to build from Back to the Future, the main component that made
Oh,
the
the flux capacitor.
flux capacitor. He said that, and that's what's always stuck in my mind: the flux capacitor, flux capacitor. But what that allowed me to do is I put that in my presentation when I spoke to these engineers at Georgia Tech. And I said, somebody told me we couldn't do this, you know what I mean? But, I asked the students up there, do you know what this is? And, a lot of them had seen Back to the Future. They're like, yeah, flux capacitor. I'm like, if you believe that you can build this, like, come join this team and let's build this flux capacitor together. So it was like a big, F you to that dude. And, that's one of the things that motivates me and drives me is thinking of that flux capacitor. And, it's always a big F you to that dude because it was my dream. And you should never, never, never stomp on anybody's dream. Like let that person, see it through. And so that's what's pushed me and drove me to make this dream happen. And funny thing that happened after that, the guy that I was I had after the lucid dream, I went back and looked at. The engineer I ended up working with at Georgia Tech was his postdoc. So it all came back, in a full circle. And what the dream, while the dream was there and I was like trying to figure out how to make it happen, I'm like, oh, little old me, I can't do this. This guy up in Massachusetts has, he's working on technology. I'll never be able to work with him. The dream stayed alive. And as the dream stayed alive, the everything kind of fell into place and I'm working with his protege. So it's like, man, that's what happens when you follow up on your dreams. You don't let up on them, and you see them through. Things just start happening, falling into place. And I mean, that is the craziest part to me is that night, and then here I'm working with this guy, a talented, amazing, brilliant engineer. Working with what at that time I thought was little old me, but I'm growing now. So yeah,
Absolutely. And the company has been growing as well too. From the actual team getting bigger to the moves being made. We're really excited to show off what Extropian has been working on.
yeah.
In terms of that dream, though, to sort of maybe round out that conversation, I did want to ask you about those starter studio days, and specifically a story that I've heard about you, and I wanted to see if it was true. And that was that your original prototype for this device was a piece of paper that you taped on yourself.
Yeah, what was so funny about that is when I went in to start a studio, I was like, I was kind of against it because I was just like, at that time, still imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome, syndrome. And when I walked in there, every group, there was pretty much 7 companies, but every company had like somebody that was a technologist, somebody that could write code, somebody that was building something. So me, myself, I'm in there and I'm still like, I didn't even know it's still possible at this point. Like that, my dream and my vision. I'm still thinking I'm some crazy dude, and people thinking I'm a nutcase. You know what I mean? Coming in there and sharing this idea, and that's never been done. And what ended up happening is, day by day, we kind of had to produce an MVP, and I couldn't do anything. My hands can't produce any technology. You know what I mean? It's just a vision in my mind, and I have a napkin now at this point, with some bad drawings on it. But what ended up happening is I had to mimic something for our pitch day, and I keep it on my by my bedside every day to just let me know about the journey and let me know, remind me of the kind of where I started and how far we came. And I don't know, man, it's an emotional thing for me to kind of hold this thing because it's like at that time there was so much doubt, and like I never thought we would be where we are now, and I never thought we would have what we have now. I never thought when I had this is the piece of paper that I used for my demo. You could still see like there's some glue on it. I glued it. The funny thing is, a lot of people asked if it was real, and people wanted to touch it, and like they thought it was connected to an app or something. But yeah, it's just a reminder of like, damn, like at that time I was just like, this isn't even possible. I'm just, I'm playing a game at this point. I'm just trying to, I'm kind of going through the weeds and seeing if like I can make this a reality. And at that time, I really didn't think I could. I'm up there talking, looking at everybody, wondering, this guy's full of shit. This guy's full of shit. Does he even know what he's doing, what he's talking about? Is it even, what I mean? And this is a representation of that, and how far I've came because I had this, and it's just a piece of paper, and now we've grown into like a full, actually working devices and getting ready to manufacture them, and you know, I'm not just a crazy person anymore. I probably have a bunch of crazy people on my team now that now believe in this and that are driving this forward, and that are ready to revolutionize an industry, and I went from little old me to like being a more powerful me and having these people behind me, including yourself, that are empowering me to believe in this and to push it forward and to bring this change to the world. So I mean, going back to talking about dreams, I mean, I don't know, like if this little piece of paper can turn into what it's become now, once you guys see it, it's truly, truly tells you to, follow your dreams and see them through. Because if I can turn that, well, if I can turn what was in my mind and what was on that napkin, a really bad drawing, shitty drawing, into then this piece of paper into what we have now, which is truly incredible, revolutionary technology. Anybody can do it. You know what I mean? People always say, if I can do X, Y, Z, anybody could do it. I mean, this is truly a representation of if you put your mind to it, you stick with it, you're resilient, you can make anything happen.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the CEO saying it himself, everybody. So, I will say though, it's not easy though, right, Ricky? From what you've told me, starting a movement like this.
Yeah, it's not. It's funny because one of my investors, potential investors, and a guy that I really respect, that's been a great advisor, told me, dude, you have balls of steel to do this, and not being crude or anything, but yeah, it takes some intestinal fortitude, and it takes grit and just resilience. And I think more than anything else, I'm resilient as hell. You know what I mean? I never give up on things. As you identified in the story I told you earlier, if somebody tells me I can't do something, it makes me want to do it even more. You know what I mean? It makes me want to make it happen and just be like, you know what? You didn't believe in me, I can't even say what I want to say on here, but you know what I mean? It pushes me, it drives me, you know what I mean? And that's what happened with this, you know what I mean? Even when the days are hard and, there's some really rocky moments and some up and downs, it's like, roller coaster ride. I go back to the vision, to the dream. And that's why this piece of paper is on my by my bedside, and why the light bulb that my professors gave me for the Edison Award is on my desk, because it's a reminder of, I can't stop, I can't quit. You know what I mean? I burnt the boats and I'm on shore, and there's no turning back. Um, yeah, it's resilience above anything else, man, and it makes it pushes you through those hard days and those hard times, and that's what it's all about, and that's why we are where we are and where we're gonna end up going, and the amazing product we're gonna deliver to the world, and the movement that we're gonna that we're building, and that a lot of people are hopping on now, because it's real. I'm not the guy that was tinkering with things in my garage. I'm not the MIT grad. I'm not the brainiac, just a guy that had a dream, had a vision, and people bought into it, and now we're building some kick-ass technology.
Yeah, yeah, and to Mr. Flux Capacitor, I'll go ahead and tell you that Ricky's busy building the time machine. So
I
that
hope he's watching this, or I hope he comes across this clip, because yeah, that's the big F you to you, dude. Like, man, I'm getting angry talking about it for real. Um, Screw that guy, man.
Man, that's funny. That's funny. Well, that's a story for another day, though, Ricky. I did want to ask you if you had sort of any other ideas or thoughts on this sort of movement.
Ideas on the movement is like, I think that we just have a cool story to tell. You know what I mean? We're not like any other company. The name of the podcast is built different because I'm built different. As you can see, I'm like not your typical tech CEO. I don't want to be like the typical tech CEO. I don't want our technology to be like the typical technology. I'm a down to earth dude. Like, I like to have fun. I like hip hop music. I like, fast cars. I love technology. Sports fanatic. I mean, I'm just different than, your average. And that's the way I wanted to build this company. That's the way I want to build this technology. But also too, the technology itself is for those people like myself, dreamers that, I never want anybody to feel like people put limits on them. I never want people to think that they've ever reached a ceiling or a limit. I want, this movement is about bringing people along that want to push past limits that people put on them, that they put on themselves, and just building a better humanity, a stronger humanity, a healthier humanity, safer humanity. And that's what this movement's about. And we call on everybody that's, from technologists to athletes to, everyday people to people that just want to be the best version of themselves. That's what this movement's about, and that's why we encourage everybody to come into this movement. And we're just building really really cool tech. And bottom line, we're just out to change people's perspective on how they use technology every day. Technology and companies we feel are very rigid right now, and we're here to break that mold and be the new kid on the block that everybody at the cool table that everybody wants to sit at for lunch. You know what I mean? That's us, and we encourage everybody to come on that ride with us.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ricky. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Extropian's Built Different podcast. My name is Raul, and this was Ricky Alphonse, CEO and founder of Extropian. Thank you guys so much for watching.